Ms. Hogan, will you take roll, please?
Mayor Wilson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott.
Here.
Trustee Clark. Trustee LeKind.
Here.
Trustee Romanello.
Here.
Trustee Shaning. Trustee Stevens.
Before us, we have an agenda, consent agenda. Do we have any modifications to the agenda? Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Hogan?
Trustee Clark.
Yes.
Trustee Shaning.
Yes.
Mayor Wilson.
Yes.
Trustee LeKind.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott.
Yes.
Trustee Stevens.
Yes.
Trustee Romanello.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes 7-0. First item on the agenda, oath of office. Chief Hemingway. Ladies and gentlemen, please hold your applause. Please hold your clapping until all the swearing in is complete.
Could I have Sergeant Case and the two officers come forward, please? Could I have Commander Lupton? Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees, town staff, and community. Tonight's a very important night as we swear in one police sergeant and two police officers that will be entrusted to serve this community as they protect the safety and lives of the residents. First, I'd like to introduce Sergeant Michael Case. Sergeant Case joined the Monument Police Department in 2012. Accompanying him tonight is his wife, Caitlin. If you'd please come forward. During Mike's career, he served in the following positions. He served as patrol officer, SWAT/Direct Action Response Team member. He serves as a police trainer and as a coordinator for training, where he gives officers guidance daily on case law changes, firearms, and just serves as a mentor as his former role as police corporal. Case has received numerous citizen thank you letters, as well as a commendation for his 2013 response to the Black Forest fires. It is at this time and with great confidence that I present Sergeant Case to this town administration, our Board of Trustees, to our Monument Police Department family, and to the great residents of the town of Monument as he advances in his leadership role. To my left, I'm gonna do them all at once here. I always throw it off a little just to keep everyone on the toes. It's my fault. Yeah. To our left is Officer Max Ellis. With Max tonight is his fiancee Jessica Cochran. Would you please come forward? I'm sorry, his fiancee Jessica Cochran. Please come forward. Max graduated Kennedy High School in California, and then he later went on to join our armed forces, serving in the U.S. Army. While serving, he received awards for his involvement in the war on the global war on terrorism. He also received the Army Commendation Medal, the Good Conduct Award, and the Army Service Ribbon. After being honorably discharged, Max attended the Pikes Peak Regional Law Enforcement Academy. He was later hired by the Regional Transport District of Denver Safety Department as a transit officer. And while serving for RTD, he advanced to the position of training officer. Officer Yarborough. Officer Yarborough served 10 years in the United States Army, where he served as Air Missile Defense Battle Systems Operator. Upon retirement, he attended Pikes Peak Community College, earning an associate's degree in criminal justice, peace officer standards, and training certificate. In attendance with him tonight is his wife, Alexandria. Would you please come forward? And you can bring your daughter, Nina, if you'd like. And also with him is his niece, Cora. And a friend, Dustin Thompson, a Manitou Springs police officer. Welcome. This time will administer the oaths of office. Sergeant Case, will you please come forward? I, Michael Case, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America and the state of Colorado and to the ordinances of the town of Monument, and that I will defend and protect the life, safety, and property of the people of Monument. I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of sergeant according to the best of my ability, so help me God. Officer Yarborough and Alice, please come forward. Please raise your right hand. I state your name. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution and laws of the United States of America and to the state of Colorado and to the ordinances of the town of Monument, and that I will defend and protect the lives and safety and the property of the people of Monument, and that I will and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of officer according to the best of my ability, so help me God. Mayor and Board, I appreciate the opportunity to present these great officers and the community for taking part in this promotional and swearing-in ceremony. Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Yeah, neat.
Okay, moving on. Welcome aboard, gentlemen. We're glad to have you. Thank you, Chief. Item 4 on the agenda, recognition. Terry Hayes, Chief Hemingway.
Again, a very special night as we give special recognition to Terry Hayes. Tonight, we give special recognition to Ms. Terry Hayes. Terry continues to not only be our Tri-Lakes Chamber of Commerce President and CEO, but a resident of Monument. One very important part of the Monument Police Department's operational culture is that we always police this community based on not only the laws of the state of Colorado and the ordinances of the town of Monument, but also based on the expectations of the needs of the community. More specifically, the needs of the residents, the business owners, and visitors who decide whether or not they'll come back based on a feeling of safety and an overall positive experience while here. Terry continues to serve as an ambassador to our community, and at many times serves as an advisor to both our police department, this town administration, and even times we've seen her give feedback and information to our great elected officials. Her knowledge and involvement in this community helps ensure that we hear the needs of the community and that we maintain a good balance between the police and this community, maintain a great quality of life. Approximately 10 months ago, members of the Monument Police Department asked Terry to help organize our efforts to educate and market information on why more funding was needed under the 2F sales tax initiative. Terry stepped up and guided our efforts by forming the 2F issue committee. Terry spoke before many organized groups, rallied support in the community, solicited private partnerships, and guided our off-duty police officers in providing the information that educated our voters. Because of Terry's efforts, Monument residents and officers are already safer, employee turnover has halted, and in fact, we have some returning officers that have now come back or planning to come back. Her efforts assisted in bringing funding for better equipment, training, and many efficiency and effectiveness enhancements, which will lead to a safer community with expanded community engagement programs. Since the approval of 2F, Terry continues to work with the PD on initiatives through public-private partnerships. Currently, one is MPD is training our business community on active shooter response. And just recently, Terry supported us and worked very close with us and our elected officials on a fundraising effort where we were able to donate over $600 to the Children's Hospital Foundation to help families of sick children. These educational, training, and fundraising partnerships continue to serve as a vehicle which builds stronger relationships, increased confidence, and the absolute trust between the Monument Police Department and our community. So Terry, on behalf of the men and women of the Monument Police Department, we'd like to offer special recognition and say thank you for being a great ambassador to our community and a great friend of the Monument Police Department. Monument Police staff put together this very special plaque that they wanted to build for her and some of the other people who helped us along the way. Certificate of Appreciation presented to Terry Hayes. The Monument Police Department wants to extend our sincere appreciation to you. It is because of your time, continued support, that we are able to provide a better service to our community, enhance safety for our officers. The work you put in for our agency was invaluable to the betterment of our future. We are honored to present this certificate of appreciation to you. Thank you, Terry. Mayor and Board, thank you for the opportunity to present the award. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Ms. Hayes. Partnerships are an important piece of a strong community, and Terry Hayes demonstrates that over and over. So thank you. Next item on the agenda, item number 5, ordinance A, number 05-2022. Ms. Harrington.
Good evening, Mayor, trustee members. For the record, Megan Harrington, Town Planning Director. This is a request for a postponement of an ordinance related to industrial design standards. As you remember, on January 3rd, staff briefed the board related to the industrial design standards, potential for additions to those standards. The board seemed to have interest in pursuing that further. The date of today, February 7th, was brought up as a potential date for bringing an ordinance back. In preparation for that, we did hold a meeting on January 19th with industrial property owners, citizens. There was a good group, and what came out of that meeting was no agreement. And that the agreement was all parties requested additional time to review a draft, make comments and recommendations back to staff to forward on to the Planning Commission and the board. Because staff was attempting to meet the schedule of bringing something back today, we did notice the hearing for this evening, which is the official request for a postponement, and also an opportunity for staff to ask for direction on the appropriate timing for perhaps bringing this back again. That way we give everyone a chance to collaborate a little bit more.
Okay. And you're asking for a postponement till March 7th, correct?
Or longer. We brought up the meeting date of March 7th, came up at the January 19th meeting, and staff will bring forward what we have on March 7th. However, those interested parties said they didn't even know if they could get comments together to staff for March 7th. In fact, they haven't. I haven't received any comments really at all. I received comments from one citizen. I'm told industrial owners are meeting together to draft one document to submit to the town. If we are to make March 7th, that means we need to schedule a special planning commission hearing for the end of February, and that would need to actually be posted tomorrow. So March 7th puts staff in a position to be posting and noticing a meeting, and we don't have any comments from any citizens. So additional time, maybe to the first meeting in April, would at least give us the opportunity to stay on track with a regular planning commission meeting in March to bring something forward in April.
Would it be appropriate to ask for an update no later than March 7th, and then if the board's okay with not setting a date at this time, have a update by March 7th?
I'm
Mr.
just
Clark?
wondering why we're delaying it so long.
I was at that meeting, so,
Do we have to actually wait for this to happen before we can proceed?
well, I think what we need to understand, I mean, the original reason for doing this is that we wanted to make sure that we were clear in our comprehensive plan and in our ordinances what manufacturing meant, whether it could be a power plant or whether it was a mom and pop bakery, and we needed to define that. Now, Ms. Harrington did an awesome job in the last meeting where she brought together some different limitations that other cities had done, and she put that language in there. And so she put that in there and say, here are the parameters, how many square feet do you want to do, how many bays do you want to do, and did stuff like that. But then we realized by taking language from other cities that there were certain things that didn't apply to Monument. And the one that was brought out was, I forget, anyway, it had to do with agricultural and flowers and things like that. And we're xeriscaping in Monument. So anyway, it seemed like things were in quite a hurry, and we were concerned that we didn't want to slap something together that would be inappropriate and have unintended consequences down the road. And I think we also need to give the town a better opportunity to participate and come together. And I was very heartened to see the business leaders and the citizens after the meeting was over, sat down at a table and started talking about what they were looking for. And so I feel like there's a lot of collaboration going on, and it's a positive thing. But I agreed with the consensus in the meeting to me was that we don't want to throw in something just to have something in place and have unintended consequences down the road that would catch us and get us into trouble. So,
Well, thank you for explaining that to me, Trustee Stevens. I'm appreciative of the happenings in that meeting.
So are we in agreements that an update by March 7th with an ordinance to follow that is appropriate? And Ms. Harrington, you agree that that's the direction you need?
Yes, sir. We will bring an update forward on March 7th. And with that, my direction would be to stick with the regular planning commission meeting in March, which is March 9th. And staff's path forward will be brief you on the 7th in preparation for bringing something forward to planning commission on the 9th. That way they don't have to have a special meeting, and then take it from there. I've also been working with the citizens and the owners to prompt them to send in their comments as soon as possible, so that staff and the town attorneys, that we can all look at that. And they would also like to have another meeting. That gives us time to have another meeting as well.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Mr. Rivera, since this was already posted, do we need to open any sort of public hearing on it? But since it's being postponed.
My understanding is that there wasn't any mailings required or anything like that. So my sense is that we can just renotice it, and we'll satisfy all notice requirements.
Okay. Sounds good. You have your direction. Item 6A, Resolution 02/2022. A resolution adopting remote participation. Mr. Rivera.
Thank you. This is the second pass at this particular policy, and the intent of this policy is to establish some standards regarding remote participation and remote meetings. And these standards are based on, I think, are in recognition of and based on how Zoom has, or Zoom and things like Zoom have entered into our lives. And what this is intended to do is to set forth some criteria regarding how a meeting should be run, a remote meeting should be run, and what are the requirements of remote participation. And the requirements of remote participation are very simple. It's basically, can everyone meaningfully participate? And that is basically as simple as, can everyone hear what is being said? Can everybody see what is being passed about? And can everybody vote in such a way that everybody can see the vote? And so long as those standards are satisfied, then we have meaningful participation. And I don't believe there's any validity to attack on the board's decision-making made through these processes of remote participation. Then there is there was some discussion regarding, at the last meeting, some discussion regarding how to limit the ability to attend all future board meetings remotely. And I wanted to address that issue for the board. Basically, there's not, so long we have the situation, it's an odd situation, but basically the situation is such that so long as a board member wants to participate remotely, and we have this policy that establishes remote participation, then we can have a board members participate in all aspects of the meeting. And this establishes those standards. And I don't believe that there really is any there's limited opportunity for the board to enforce, so to speak, an attendance policy on this particular issue, because there's not enough. I'll just leave it at that, because of the fact that we would have a situation where a board member would want to attend and they are attempting to attend, so that there would not be that board member who is attempting to attend would not be open to any charge that they were abandoning their post, so to speak, if that makes sense.
Okay. Questions from the board? Trustee Clark?
So is there anything that would prohibit hypothetical situation where a board member was incapacitated, physically handicapped, and not able to attend in person for 2 or 3 months or whatever on this hypothetical situation? Do we have any kind of exception for that kind of individual situation where the board member is physically handicapped but still able to attend remotely, faculties intact?
I don't. Let me just phrase it this way: the only Ultimately, it's the board's discretion. So a board member can quasi judicial proceedings are set aside. They're treated differently. And so the board in this very limited area is able to limit a fellow board member's participation. Otherwise, board members cannot limit each other's participation, right? So the standard is you cannot limit each other's participation. However, in quasi judicial proceedings where you act as judge and juror, you can make a rule which says that everyone needs to be present for those. And the basis for this exception to the standard, which is you cannot limit each other's participation, is the idea that when you're serving as a juror and a judge, there is value to being present. You get to see the room, you get to see the energy, you get to view body language, etc. So that is the limit. That is why you can limit it for that particular piece. What the board is doing here is they're taking away that limit and they're saying everybody, all board members can participate remotely. However, our preference is for in-person meetings. However, the board can still retains the power to go back to the previous rule, which is if you want to participate in quasi-judicial proceedings, you must be here in person. So to answer your question, that's the only limit they have. So of course, if someone has that situation, it'd be board discretion, but that would be the basis for any decision regarding that situation. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does, and thank you for taking the time to do that, Mr. Vera. I always appreciate it.
So I think what this amounts to as far as participation is personal responsibility to be here in person and to represent the community in person, even though in situations where somebody may be incapacitated, there's an emergency, then they could participate remotely and still conduct their duties. Other questions from the board?
I'd like to ask the board, I have a question about applicability of policy. I think it actually is number 5. There's 2 number 4s. It says the policy applies to all board meetings, regular, special, and study session / workshop. I'd like to ask the board if it'd be possible to remove the study session / workshop and be able to attend that remotely anytime, that's needed.
And I would agree with Mayor Pro Tem.
With study sessions and workshops not being voting, usually there's no voting involved. I would agree with the Mayor Pro Tem also. I don't believe that that's necessary in this policy. Okay. If that's the case and there are no more questions, Mayor Pro Tem, would you make a motion with your modification?
Sure.
And I guess we want that to be item 5.
It's okay.
6.
No, because we
It's
have
5.
a 5 under it.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 02-2022, a resolution adopting a remote participation in remote meetings policy, with the policy being amended to remove study session / workshop from the applicability of policy section number 5.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Hogan, will you take roll, please?
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
Trustee LeKind?
Yes.
Trustee Shaning? No. Trustee Romanella?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes. That motion passes 6-1. 6B, resolution number 04-2022, appointing members to the Planning Commission. Ms. Harrington.
Good evening again. We have the need for 3 regular Planning Commission members and an alternate. We have 2 members that were up for reappointment at the end of the year that did not seek reappointment, and 1 Planning Commission member that at the end of February will be moving from the town of Monument. We have 2 alternates seated at all times, and as I'm told, typically we would bring the alternates forward to then be converted to regular members. So the resolution before you this evening is to appoint alternates Kathy Green. And Kathy, if you want to stand, appoint Kathy Green and Sean Zernikow. These are our two alternate members currently. Converting these two alternate members to regular members to serve terms from February 7th through the December 31st of 2023. We also have Mr. Ray Egley. Ray, if you would like to stand, sir. Mr. Egley, he is a Board of Adjustments member currently, and he had previously put in an application for the Planning Commission. We have a notice on our website. We're always taking applications for Planning Commission Board of Adjustments, and Mr. Egley is interested in moving from the Board of Adjustments to the Planning Commission. The resolution asks that Mr. Egley be fill the unexpired term March 1st, 2022 through December 31st of 2022, and then he would be able to be reappointed to a full term. And then the fourth name on here is Mr. Mark Peck. He goes by Tony. I don't know, Mr. Peck, if you're in the building here today. Mr. Peck, this resolution proposes to seat Mr. Peck as an alternate. Again, these are the only two gentlemen that had previously filled out an application for any positions with the Planning Commission or the Board of Adjustments. So with these appointments, we're using all of the applications, and we will need to ask for additional citizens to step up for additional positions. But Mr. Peck would be seated for an alternate for a 2-year term, and then we will still be down an alternate position on the Planning Commission, and currently now down a Board of Adjustments member. If you move to approve a resolution appointing 3 regular members and 1 alternate member to the Town Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns with this resolution? And you will be posting for alternate members and Board of Adjustment members to apply?
Yes, sir. We're going to have to post out on our social media asking for applications for an alternate and Board of Adjustments.
Okay. If there are no further questions, I'll look for a motion.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 04-2022, a resolution appointing members to the Planning Commission.
Second.
Ms. Hogan, will you take roll, please?
Trustee Shaning?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
No.
Trustee Romanello?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott?
Yes.
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee LeKind?
Yes.
That motion passes 6-1. Welcome aboard, new planning commissioners. Look forward to having you serve, and thank you for serving. 6C, resolution number 05-2022, resolution approving an agreement with William D. Much. Mr. Foreman.
Mayor and board, this year we discussed hiring a lobbyist for the town of Monument in conjunction and partnership with the city of Fountain. Their city manager, Scott Trainer, and I interviewed multiple candidates to act as the legislative lobbyists for both communities. We did this in order to save money for both communities. William Much was chosen based on his abilities to service both communities and what he's done in El Paso County in the past. And also the fact that William Much has served the town of Monument pro bono during the last couple of legislative sessions. The proposed cost was going to be $40,000. After negotiation, he has agreed to charge the town of Monument $16,500, which would be paid monthly, and the contract could be canceled at any time based on agreement by both parties. This is a 1-year contract that would run out December of 2022. There's 2 separate contracts. He has one with the town of Monument and one with the city of Fountain. Fountain's already approved their contract. We've already had a couple of meetings with Mr. Much going over legislative agendas and going over what's going on in Denver right now. Like I said, this is $1,500 a month. It can end with notice any month. It'll provide a legislative agenda with issues pertaining to monument specifically. We'll have an annual report after the legislative session. And like has been done in the past, he will contact us and tell us when we need to come to Denver to testify on any issues that affect the town of Monument. Also, as part of this, I would like the board to appoint 2 members to work with me on the legislative updates for the board as we go along.
Okay. And just to add what Mr. Foreman's discussing, we had brought this to the board over a year ago, just asking for interest. And there was interest, but as we went along, I spoke with Trustee Stevens, and former Speaker Stevens. We may want to try this for a year and then look at another way to do it. There might be some better ways to do it, but I personally am okay with doing this for now and see how it works. Are there any additional comments from the board or concerns, questions?
Me too.
So my question is, since this was not in the budget, where's the money coming from?
So due to, like I said, during the budget process, we would probably take it out of the reserves. We had a pretty healthy reserve this year, but due to the fact that our sales tax, as we predicted, has been performing well above what we had budgeted, we believe that we'll be able to take this out of the excess that is being provided to us from our sales tax.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm glad it came back, and I'm glad it came back at a discount.
Okay, and then there's the item of committee members. I know I would be interested. We've had several other members be interested. I believe Trustee Stevens would also make a good candidate with his experience as a state legislator. So how do we want to move forward with appointing committee members? I believe we just want 2.
Yes, sir, because
And-
if we have more than 2, it'd have to be a meeting.
Right, we want 2, and it would probably be Zoom meetings once a week with,
Yep, so far it has been. He's literally started, and whether or not we sign a contract tonight or not, he was going to provide us service up till the point we decide on this. So he's been doing that, and I will be, as soon as this is approved, sending you everything we've done since February 1st.
Trustee Clark, you had a point. Vote on the resolution first. Okay. Yeah. If there are no other questions, I'll look for a motion.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 5, 2022, a resolution approving an agreement with William D. Much of Much Government Relations to obtain lobbyist services for the town of Monument.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Hogan?
Trustee Romanello,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Trustee Stevens,
Yes.
Trustee Shaning,
Yes.
Trustee LeKind,
Yes.
Trustee Clark.
Yes.
That motion passes 7-0. Do we want to discuss the committee now, or do we want to move that to board authorization items?
Let's move it to board office.
I think that'll keep us running.
Moving. I think we can do that.
Item 6D, resolution number 06-2022, a resolution approving the final plat for Quick Trip. This is a public hearing item. Ms. Flynn.
Mayor, Megan Harrington, Town Planning Director. I am going to present this item for you this evening, and actually it will be one public hearing for both items, Resolution 06-22 and 07-2022, the final plat and the final PUD development plan for the Quick Trip.
Okay, so 6D and E will be presented at the same time. One public hearing will be held and 2 votes will be held. And you're not Miss Flynn, but go ahead.
Thank you. Just trying to keep everyone on their toes this evening. This project, again, as I stated, is the final plat and final planned unit development plan for a Quick Trip convenience store and fueling station. This site is located south of Baptist Road. It is directly west of Terrazzo and west of the pilot. It is southeast of the roundabout at Old Denver Road and Baptist Road. The site is part of the Falcon Commerce Center. It was zoned PUD in August of 2020, and then there was a preliminary PUD for phase 1 approved in October of 2020, and the site for the Quick Trip is part of that preliminary PD site plan that was approved. That site plan illustrated the area as commercial, medical, office, and industrial warehouse. So this use is a commercial use and a use that is permitted via the approved PUD and the sketch plan. And Forest Lakes Metro District provides the water and the wastewater for the development within Falcon Commerce Center. The final PUD for the convenience store is located on Lot 1. It's 7.5 acres. The building is 8,292 square feet, and it's 20 feet tall. So that 20 feet with this final PUD plan, that sets that maximum height at the 20 feet. There's 107 standard vehicle spaces on site and 14 truck spaces. Those 14 spaces are probably better described as oversized parking. If you can see my pointer here on the screen, those large 14 spaces are towards the rear of the site. All of the standard vehicle, the 107 at the front of the site. Those 14 oversized spaces, they are not reservable. There is a note on the plan that no overnight parking is permitted, and the site plan also shows establishment of signage that says no overnight parking. And if approved after construction of the building, prior to the town going out to the site and inspecting for certificate of occupancy sign off, we would ensure that those signs are posted, no overnight parking. All of the stormwater is flowing to the Falcon Commerce Center on-site detention facilities. There's a large detention pond to the south of the site, and that's taking on all of the stormwater from this site itself. There has been conversation and comments that staff has received related to this site being a truck stop. Staff would contend, and it's explained in your staff report here, that this is not a truck stop, but a fueling station and convenience store. The Quick Trip calls this a fuel stop. On your screen here is a comparison of the services that Quick Trip provides versus a local, not to be named truck stop in the vicinity. The differences being that the truck stop has 2 independent restaurants. The Quick Trip does sell fresh foods. There are several outdoor dining tables, but it's all their own fresh foods. There's no third-party restaurant purveyor. The truck stop, local truck stop, has 159 parking spaces, 72 of those oversized, and you can see the difference with what the Quick Trip has on site. The truck stop has 23 spaces they say are prime spaces, according to the website, that are pay for overnight parking that you can reserve in advance. And again, Quick Trip has 14 oversized spaces towards the rear of the property. No overnight parking is permitted. Those spaces could be used by someone towing their 5th wheel with their diesel truck and they need to pull in from the rear of the convenience store. The truck stop has check cashing, a driver's lounge, public laundry, 5 showers. Quick Trip has none of those. There is a scale. Quick Trip does call this a fueling stop, so there could be trucks pulling in for fuel, for food, and to weigh, and it does have a scale on site. Truck stop has repair tools, accessories for maintenance, and the Quick Trip would have limited accessories. I believe that's some of the differences between what would be considered a truck stop and a convenience store. They do both operate, it's 24 hours for both. Access is via a right-in, right-out off of Baptist Road. And if you drive down Baptist Road heading east, you can actually see that curb cut is in now, and that was constructed as part of the Baptist Road improvements. So they will be extending that to be a roadway through the site. There's 3 access points on Terrazzo Drive, and you can see those are all marked on your slide. And Squadron Drive will be a full movement access. There was a traffic impact study done. The traffic impact study does state that a signal is triggered at Baptist Road and Terrazzo Drive with the traffic that will be generated from the Quick Trip. And I'm going to go into this in a little bit greater detail further in the presentation. I know we've heard from several citizens about the need for the traffic signal at Terrazzo and Baptist. That is the signal that the developer of Falcon Commerce Center has paid upfront to CDOT, a majority of the funds for the signal. And we've been waiting as these developments come in for the warrants or the amount of traffic to hit CDOT's threshold in order for that signal to be warranted. So the signal is warranted, but it won't quite be installed, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Comprehensive plan, the future land use map shows this area as a commercial center. This is not all inclusive, just a sampling of the comprehensive plan statements. Uses that provide goods and services for the region and the traveling public. A type of development that generates a high number of vehicle trips can serve residents as well as the traveling public. And then there's several policy and opportunity statements within the comprehensive plan that talk about capitalizing on the I-25 interchanges for sales tax producing land uses, highway oriented development, how to plan logical roadway extensions, and to continue to promote Monument as the business, shopping, service, employment, and the activity hub for the Tri-Lakes region. Planning Commission held a hearing on January 12th. They did recommend approval of the final plat and the final PUD for Quick Trip. That was a 4-to-1 vote. There was one Planning Commission member in opposition and stated that he felt that the comprehensive plan criteria, conformance with the comprehensive plan was not met because there are several other truck stops or fueling stations in the general vicinity, and felt that that did not meet the comprehensive plan. So again, 4-to-1 in favor. As you can see here on the screen, staff originally recommended approval to the Planning Commission, and Planning Commission recommending approval to you with 2 conditions placed on the final PUD plan. One being certificate of occupancy not be issued without the warranted traffic signal at Baptist, and the other not issuing a certificate of occupancy until an access permit from CDOT. Staff is now asking that the board remove those conditions. When CDOT commented on the traffic impact study for the Quick Trip and stated that the Quick Trip will warrant the signal at Terrazzo and Baptist, staff mistakenly thought that meant now we're going to install the signal because the traffic study says it's warranted. But that's not the case. CDOT physically wants the trips on the road before they will start planning the signal. Staff put this condition on here, wanting to spur movement on the signal, hoping that Quick Trip, the developer, Falcon Commerce Center, that everyone could work together with CDOT. Quick Trip opens and the signal's in place, but CDOT saying it's just not that easy. That they need to see the traffic. Staff is working with the regional engineer to ask CDOT to quickly move that signal forward. The citizens say there's a need. The money is there. Let's just put in the signal. but we need to cut through some layers and see if we can get to the right person that will agree to move that quicker. So it's not even possible for Quick Trip to have this condition on their approval because CDOT's just not, they're just not going to do it. The other condition actually has already been met. Quick Trip's already submitted for an access permit to CDOT. CDOT is requiring an access permit for the access to I believe Baptist Road, and potentially that piece of Terrazzo. The applicant may have to address that, but there is an access permit need from CDOT, and they've already submitted that. They're already, Quick Trip's already working through the CDOT process, so really that condition's no longer needed. With that, staff is recommending that the Board of Trustees approve Resolution 06-2022, the final plat for the Quick Trip, based on the finding that it meets the review criteria from town code for a final plat, and those criteria in your packet, and also Resolution 07-2022, the final PUD plan for the Quick Trip, again, based on the finding that it meets the review criteria from town code that are also in your packet. And that's concludes staff presentation. I know the applicant is here as well.
Okay, does the applicant have a presentation or anything?
Yes, Mayor, they do.
Okay. We'll go ahead with that.
To work. Thank you.
Good evening, board, mayor, and citizens and staff. My name is Jessica Glavis with Quick Trip Corporation. Thank you for having us this evening. Wanted to give you a quick, unintended introduction to Quick Trip. We are new to the Denver and Monument area, trying to make our entrance into this market. So this store will be store 4299. Quick Trip, also known as QT, was founded in 1958 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We have over 900 locations in 13 plus states and counting. I believe we're at 918 stores right now. We also started in 2010 focusing on fresh food, adding state-of-the-art made-to-order food and drinks. We did this in an effort to be prepared for any future decline in gasoline demand, and we want to be a food destination. I reduced my amount of food pictures, so hopefully don't make everybody too hungry. Just a few of the items we offer. Here's a scramble bowl, wraps, sub sandwiches, and my favorite, the breakfast pizza. We also offer regular pizzas, tacos, brisket, and then the other convenience store fare of donuts, hot dogs, roller grill items, and then we do have grab and go sandwiches and salads as well. Quick Trip believes our most valued asset is our employees, and we are recognized as having some of the best wages in the industry, great benefits, and the opportunity to be promoted from within. I actually started in Tulsa, Oklahoma as a part-time clerk in high school, and now here I am almost 20 years later working in the real estate department. So I am a success story starting at Quick Trip. We also create probably around 30 jobs for this size of a store, and we have never laid off an employee in the history of the company. Quick Trip is committed to security. Each store has multiple alarm points and state-of-the-art digital video surveillance. It is constantly monitored by our Security Operations Center in Tulsa. We've also been commended by numerous police departments, and they will come to us to get our video surveillance if a crime happens near our site, because every inch of our site is covered by video camera, including obviously some off-site views. Just a little bit of our security background. We have alarm buttons in the check stand in the back room, and that can be worn on an employee's person. We have cameras in the check stand, on the sales floor, and we have a live video broadcast, again, from the store to the corporate security department. DVR, cameras on the doors, very safe design. We actually have a former military colonel that reviews every single one of our security plans, and we strive to safely light our sites, of course, within the code ordinances of the town that we locate in. So Quick Trip owns and operates every single store. We do not franchise. We do this because we want to make sure that every customer has the same experience at every Quick Trip. They get the same great customer service. And we're also known for our clean restrooms. So we want to make sure every time you come to Quick Trip, you get that same customer service, same product, and great clean restrooms. We also guarantee every drop of our gasoline. This means that if someone comes to us and our gasoline has caused a problem to their vehicle, we take care of the repairs on that vehicle. We also have, in the vein of gasoline, a state-of-the-art fuel system, top in the industry with leak detection. I know that's very important. We also try to be an asset to our neighborhood. We want our stores to look nice and be nice for many, many years. As you'll see when I bring up some of our architecture, we design our stores to last a long time. We employ a team of facility support technicians, over 200 in each market, that make repairs 24 hours a day. Also make sure that landscaping is taken care of, the equipment and the lot is taken care of, and all these trouble calls are entered by employees at the store and managed by our centralized IT department. Each Quick Trip generates an average of 1.3 million in annual and local state taxes. Quick Trip also donates 5% of our annual net profit to charitable organizations. Our main charitable organizations are the United Way and Folds of Honor. I think most people are familiar with the United Way, but they have many great partner organizations, and usually once a year we do a United Way Day of Caring as well, which is what this picture is, where we go to one of their partner agencies and volunteer for a day. One of our other is Folds of Honor, which donates scholarships to children of disabled or fallen veterans. And then Quick Trip is also known as a safe place, which we partner with the National Safe Place organization. So any at-risk youth can come to one of our stores and let our employee know that they are in need of help. And our employees are trained to call the Safe Place volunteers, make them comfortable, make the child comfortable, give them a drink, and make sure that they're safe until the Safe Place volunteer shows up to help them. So our core values are be the best, focus long-term, do what's right for QT, do the right thing, and never be satisfied. We try to make all of our decisions based on these core values. We do believe that our people set us apart in the industry, and that we try to develop leaders, which is where we get promoting from within. Our founder said, if you're not taking care of the customers, you better be taking care of the people that are. And that's where we get our 1,800 employees that we employ in our warehouse, bakeries and commissaries, and then over 1,400 people in various positions from accounting, engineering, IT, HR, real estate and construction, and so on. You've already seen our site plan in Megan's presentation, but I've added it on here. This is what we consider a fuel stop. We know that the trucks are there, so we want to provide them a place, but we do not have trucker services. And this is our building elevation. As you can see, it is masonry, built to last at least 50 years. We want to make sure it's very nice and looks great for years to come. And this is our fuel canopy elevation. And I am here for any questions.
Do we have any questions for the applicant at this time?
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any questions for staff at this time?
What is the CDOT trigger in traffic? What's the threshold of car count or whatever it is to get that light triggered?
Trustee Romanello, the actual number? I'm gonna phone a friend. I need to ask Ms. Debbie Flynn if she has the answer to that, because I do not know the specific number.
You said this was your presentation.
I did.
Will the real Debbie Flynn stand up?
Thank you, Debbie.
I have to say, I don't know the actual number, but with the background trips as well with Quick Trip's project warrants this signal because not just their trips on the road, it's the trips of UPS, the trips that are coming from the other projects in the area. That's what makes it warranted. I don't know the exact number for that trip because the warrants have 6 to 8 warrants that it has to pass through CDOT to put the signal up. And they prefer to put the signal up once the trips are on the road. And that's their standards.
So is that one of those rubber cables in the road counting cars? Is that how they do that? Or is there something else going on?
Well, we usually do that to figure out to use for the traffic studies. That's only one aspect for the traffic study is the tube counts. And that figures out background trips, future trips in 2040 and whatnot. But that does help trigger that. But they will probably put the tube counts down there and figure out the background trips to make sure it's happening once Quick Trip's on there. And that's what they advised us. We are going to try to speak with the county engineer to get this signal sooner than later. And that's our hopes. Because this warrants in, there's an issue at that intersection right now. And we're hoping to get that resolved.
Mr. Foreman, can
Yes.
we reach out to our regional CDOT manager? It sounds like everybody's on board and understanding the need for this light. Why would we have to get a count even though everybody's on board with putting it there?
Yeah, so we met earlier and we are going to contact Richard Zamora on this one because the developer is prepared and I think he's put up all the money already, right? But all the developers have put up all the money.
I
for it.
believe
If-
they have,
if-
yes.
Yep.
And
So they
we
put up all the money and we're just waiting for CDOT to release that. They're basing it on a warrant. Now, I am going to make that phone call to Richard Zamora and see if we can't push that.
Because if CDOT needs the count for their records, they can have the count there while the light's there.
Exactly.
It doesn't change anything.
Exactly. But we've scheduled that call.
Okay, excellent. But I'm saying if it's paid for by an outside entity, they can still take their counts even once the light exists. Okay, is there any other questions from the board at this time?
So there's 107 parking spots for vehicles on this property. We have an issue at an unnamed truck stop with people using it as their personal hotel. I would like to know how Quick Trip is going to manage that on behalf of their own company and to prevent the police from having to be called there constantly to prevent the same thing happening. Because this unnamed truck stop will do nothing to remove their sleeping employees in the parking lot. What is it that Quick Trip's going to do to prevent this from becoming a mobile hotel?
Thank you for the question. So we have on our task list to go out on the lot at least a couple times a day and monitor trash and things like that. So they will notice if there are cars there for a long period of time, and they are supposed to handle that appropriately by calling a tow, or they may have to call the police department. Unfortunately, I don't know if that's avoidable in all cases, but they are supposed to go out and monitor the site and make sure they're doing everything they can to keep people from just staying there.
Okay, thank you. So Chief, you're prepared to deal with an additional 107 spots that can potentially become places for people to crash for weeks and months on end?
So what we're doing with other businesses is we would ask that they have a partnership where we can at minimum go in and say, you know, we're observing people that are camping, sometimes overnight, sometimes for more than one night, and allow us to either trespass them or be in an agreement where they would do that for us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, other questions from the board?
I have a question about the number of parking places. So 107, is that because you have a goal to become a food destination as well?
So our occupancy for this size store is actually 92 or 93. So we have about almost a little more than one space per occupant. It does have to do with our food offer. We do think that people will stop on their travels and probably grab food and sit in their car and eat. So we wanted to allow that space for that. And then we also have, there are a number of pull-through spaces because people that are on trips with large trailers or a fifth wheel or a camper, they can pull through and park in those spots in addition to those oversized spots, because we see a lot of that traffic at these interstate locations.
Thank you.
While you're still up there, I had a question about what is the feedback you guys have gotten on your security system? Do you see a difference in yours numbers wise than other convenience stores? I mean, has it the extent of your security system, have you seen a defined difference between your store and other stores?
I don't have a lot of experience with other stores, unfortunately, but I believe there's a difference, and we've heard from numerous police departments that there's a difference.
Okay.
We also, I didn't mention this, we have a program where we do offer free drinks to police officers. So they tend to spend time on our lots, and that encourages a safer environment as well.
Thank you.
I'll work on that one.
The most well-protected convenience store in the area.
That's what we want.
Okay, if we have no more questions from the board, I will move on to the public hearing portion. This is a public hearing item. Would anyone like to speak for or against resolution number 06-2022 or resolution number 07-2022? Yes, sir.
My name is Fred Free, and I didn't know I was going to talk on this because I didn't know this program was going to be presented tonight. First of all, I'd just like to say, number one, keep the condition for the light. Do not approve this. That street over there is a mess. You may recall that several weeks ago, I came and told you that I'd done my own traffic study over there. And just in the hours of time that I saw, you know, the average would be 800 to 900 vehicles every 2 hours going up and down that street. Diesel trucks would be almost 200 going down that street. So I would really encourage trustees to postpone this till you find out what's going on with CDOT and tell them get off their derriere, find out what we're going to do there for safety. Just looking at that. Number two, patrolling over there, enforcement over there, whether it's by your company or by the police department, we need it over there now. On both the streets that are around there, the trucks are parked there night and day. A lot of overnight camping. Talking about I think somebody said it was a convenient hotel right there. There's been weeks at a time that they've been there at the unnamed facility. Okay. So I would really encourage you to do this. If we wouldn't known this was going to be on here tonight, I'd had the whole community down here. We do not need this over there. On Baptist, there are 3 major gas stations right there. On 105, I think there's 4 major gas stations that are right there. So we don't need this here. You may have a nice facility and everything else like that, but for that community there, it's not worth it to us. The other thing that we've got on there is we've got the dark skies issues in our neighborhood, and we've got water issues in the neighborhood. We have restrictions and stuff that are involving the use of water. That's going to be a high demand with another 107 parking places. That's minimum of what, 1,000 vehicles a day? And imagine it's 24/7. So you could probably get that real easy. So I'd really encourage trustees to please do not approve this at this time.
Is there anyone else in person that would like to comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Anderson, do we have anyone online that would like to comment on this item? Okay. Any additional comments or questions from the board?
Ms. Harrington, when was this originally approved? And you said as part of this whole development and everything?
The zoning and the sketch plan, August of 2020, and the preliminary PUD for phase 1, which included this convenience area and the larger lots, was October of 2020.
Harrington, can you put on the board again from your presentation the options that are what the planning commission suggested and what you were asking us to remove?
I think to clarify that it's not applicable. The applicant is willing to do something and CDOT isn't letting them do something. So we can't require the applicant to do what somebody's not letting them do.
Very unfair to the applicant, I would think.
I already have a phone call into the regional traffic engineer and an email, and he hasn't responded. Maybe it's just me. But the next step is to call the Richard Zamora, who's the fellow for the entire district. So they're not, it hasn't been quick. I know they're busy.
Mike, how responsive has Mr. Zamora been to you in the past?
And almost immediate.
Okay.
He'll send,
All right, thank you.
he's working on 2 different projects in Monument right now. He helped us remove the chain link fence at the new park and ride, and then also is transferring ownership of the old park and ride at 105 and 2nd Street to the town of Monument. So he's been very helpful with this. We're going to make a phone call first thing in the morning.
Thank you.
Can you re-explain the trigger to me? So if we approve this tonight, they're going to begin their building process, and at some point during that building process, we may have a traffic light installed. No guarantees.
Let me take a step back and explain that. We've had several developments in the area. There's the UPS, Willow Springs, all of those developments. When we ask a specific site to submit a traffic study, their traffic engineer takes the traffic that the convenience store expects to generate and then counts in the background traffic from the UPS, the Willow Springs, all of those other traffic studies. What the traffic study says is, with the addition of all the background traffic from all those other sites and the addition of the traffic expected from the quick trip, that will warrant this. That will warrant the signal. What we don't know is, for instance, the timing of UPS. The UPS trips, there's 2,000-ish trips expected a day from the UPS. We don't know when UPS will finish construction. When do those trips count in? So I think the quick trip could open, and it could be months. I mean, I can't say how long. The quick trip would be open, that the trip count wouldn't hit the warrant until all of the trips from the quick trip and the UPS and all of the accounted for background traffic, until it's all going at the same time, because the development is, all the certificate of occupancies and all the businesses are up and running. That's when it would tip. And we don't know when that will be. So if UPS opens before Quick Trip and their trips are on there, and then Quick Trip opens and they get busy right away, then I think it's triggered sooner. But if it's a trickle of trips, then it could take longer.
Have any idea of the amount of residents west of Old Denver, north or even south of Baptist, that are going to be impacted by the slowdowns and the traffic that's going to be generated from a Quick Trip, as well as the UPS, as well as the two unnamed truck stops?
Trustee LeKinder, are you asking if we know the number of residents total that are out there now?
That are going to be using that road, yeah. I mean, you've got a bunch that are being built in Willow Springs.
There's 399 homes in Willow Springs and 500-ish in Forest Lakes. And then there's the people along Old Denver Road that may drive south. You know what, if I threw a number out there, it would be a complete guess. But then you figure it's not just one trip per household. It's probably an average of, I don't know, 10 trips a day for a single family residence is a 10 trip average from the traffic manuals. So a lot.
I'm just trying to get understanding.
Yeah, I
how
can't.
Are impacted by, while we wait for these trip counts to generate in order to get them triggered, and then we have to wait for CDOT to decide to build it.
Right, and now the CDOT, if we have meetings with CDOT will, I know technical information, it's all about perspective, and the technical information CDOT will tell you there's an issue is forthcoming, but they're saying that the traffic isn't that bad yet to warrant the signal. The signal's not needed right now. But I know that, again, that's perception, and that's why staff is asking, the money is there, can't you just, put the signal in? We can work on timing of the signals later if the timing needs to be recalculated based on additional traffic. That's the process that is taking some time. And mind you, this has been in for several months. I mean, we've been working back and forth with CDOT. So it's not fast.
Does CDOT take into account, so we're just talking normal traffic, counting cars, What about accidents? Do they step it up a little with a sense of urgency if there are, accidents start happening?
Definitely part of the warrant process includes accidents, fatalities and stuff like that. Definitely does include that.
What about evacuation routes? Does that also get included?
I don't think evacuation routes does not get included in a traffic study. So I would say that CDOT's not considering traffic routes or evacuation because it's not a piece of information in the traffic study.
Sorry. It's my experience typically in in commercial development that at the beginning of a new establishment, the curiosity and the interest of the public surrounding the establishment increases in intensity. Sometimes can last up to 9 months. So that might also accelerate that response.
What would be the big picture timing of this? Like, so if Zamora is really responsive to you, and then what are the next steps and phases of development on this and the timing till it's completed?
Jessica, do you want to answer that from your construction perspective? Once this final plan is approved here this evening, that's the document they need approval from the town to go to Pikes Peak Regional Building and pull a building permit. So if this gets approved here this evening, it would be on the Quick Trip team to determine when they would be submitting their building permit, and then the building permit's reviewed. That takes 60, 90 days, I bet. Yeah, would you please, for those online?
So we are ready to submit if we are approved tonight, we are ready to submit for our building permits. Hopefully as soon as next week. Typically, I would say 4 months for building permit approval. And then our bid process, about 2 months for our bid process. So where does that put us? Fall. So fall start of construction for this type of site, probably 45 construction weeks. So next fall-ish.
Yeah,
I'm pretty confident you'd have some things hammered out with Zamora by then, right? Okay.
I think so.
I just want a
think we get that-
clarification on the big
I think we
picture.
get that done.
All right.
Yeah. And like Megan said, UPS construction schedule, that completion probably, I would doubt if it'd be till the end of this year, probably, Megan.
It could be. And then we've had other pre-application meetings on other developments in the Falcon Commerce Center area that could also change the timing for when the signal's triggered as well in the next year.
And let me reiterate also, the developers of this area, all of them on every corner are in support and have paid their money in advance for this signal. And so they've also been in contact with CDOT to request this. And so we're going to put we're going to call them tomorrow and make sure we tell them how important this is to the town.
I think us working with them to show CDOT we'd like to get this done. To
Definitely.
me, it just doesn't make sense to at an intersection. I don't understand why CDOT would want to wait on that, whether it's needed or not.
I'll update the board as soon as I know.
Okay. I myself drive that corridor multiple times a day. I think maybe once I've had to wait through, miss a light, and that's in 4 or 5 years. I'm not seeing it with the build schedule, not seeing it getting flooded tomorrow. So also another question, Ms. Harrington, I believe you said Forest Lakes is the water district for this?
Yes.
So as far as water goes, it's not our decision whether Forest Lakes decides to support this project or not.
No, they're required to provide proof, will serve from the district, and they have all of the commitments from the district for Falcon Commerce Center to serve with the utilities.
Did I
this
see
would have-
something in there that said that Triview Metro is offering a will serve for this, though?
So Triview and Forest Lakes now have a relationship. And
What does that mean?
Water and sanitation.
how's that for a cagey answer? I
I-
don't know.
I was going to say, I think Doug could probably help us with that.
There's so many helpful folks around. So Triview is providing, they have an agreement with Forest Lakes to provide the water and the wastewater, and they have an interconnect agreement.
Which again has nothing to do with
Of
us.
course they do.
Thank you,
I'd also like to
citizen.
tell the board that the town of Monument has an emergency interconnect with Forest Lakes also.
That's a whole nother. No further questions? Is there any other questions? Okay, we'll look for a motion on resolution number 06-2022.
I move for resolution number 06-2022, a resolution approving a final plat for Quick Trip 4299 subdivision filing number 1.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Hogan?
Trustee Romanella?
Yes.
Trustee Shaning?
No.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee LeKind?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott?
Yes.
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
That motion passes 6-0. Resolution number 07-2022. Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to pass resolution 07-2022, resolution approving a final planned unit development for Quick Trip Store 4299.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Hogan?
Trustee Shaning?
No.
Trustee LeKind?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott? Yes. Trustee Romanello is noted absent.
That motion passes 5-1. This takes us to resolution 6F, resolution number 08-2022. Will this be Miss Flynn or Miss Harrington? Oh, there you are. Okay. Approving a preliminary final plat for Monument Junction West. Miss Flynn.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and trustees. Again, this is the preliminary final plat for Monument Junction West, filing number 1, Resolution 8-2022. Monument Junction West, filing number 1, is situated to the west of I-25 with the off-ramps onto South 105, forming the western boundary. Jackson Creek forms the eastern boundary. Vacant land and the YMCA are located to the south on the east side of Jackson Creek Parkway. Is the remainder of the undeveloped Monument Junction, which is currently being reviewed through the town for residential development. Preliminary final plat. The purpose is the overall master plan for the proposed subdivision. Layout of the subdivision for future development, which includes lots, streets, and tracks. A preliminary final plat has 9 review approval criteria, which the property owner has met, such as it conforms with the comprehensive plan. The plat proposes a harmonious development and lot pattern. The lot and development pattern ensures that there will be
Miss-
adequate light.
Miss Flynn, can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Can we take a 5-minute recess?
Sure.
We'll be taking a 5-minute recess. We have some board members that are taking care of things.
Okay. Would you like me to start from the beginning? Or
What slide number is this?
I believe 3.
No, please go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Continue where you're at.
Okay. Monument Junction West, filing number 1, preliminary final plat, has 9 review and approval criteria, which the property owner has met. Some of that criteria is that it conforms with the comprehensive plan. The plot proposed a harmonious development and lot pattern. The lot and the development pattern ensures that there will be adequate light, air, parks, open space, and other places for public use. Sufficient water supply will be Woodmore Water and Sanitation District. And the owners and developer of the property will bear the cost of improvements. They will be helping with Jackson Creek Parkway winding. And the plot design provides a preservation and conservation of significant stands of vegetation and so forth. The preliminary final plat's next steps. With the approval of the planning director, a preliminary final PUD plan will be submitted. The preliminary PUD or preliminary final PUD has its own criteria for review prior to any construction. The proposal must conform to the approved village PD sketch plan for zoning and land uses. Sections 1803 450D and 1803 460D dictates the criteria for review for a preliminary and final PUD plan. Lastly, the proposal must include the items listed in the preliminary and final PUD checklists. All are discussed at the applicant's pre-application meeting. Existing zoning. This is part of the village, which is now Monument Junction, approved sketch PD plan. On March 11th, 2020, the Planning Commission recommended approval to the Board of Trustees. And on June 15th, 2020, the Board of Trustees approved the sketch PD plan, which identified mix of land uses on the west side of Jackson Creek Parkway. Such land uses include single-family, detached, attached townhomes, multifamily residential, commercial office services, mixed use, a linear park, open space trails, and buffers. As I said earlier, Woodmore Water and Sanitation District will provide both water and sanitation services for all development within Monument Junction. So on the west and the east side. In this case, brought tonight, it's the west side. Project summary. Monument Junction West, filing number 1, is 44.140 acres in size. It will subdivide the property into 6 lots, 3 tracks, and 4 streets. The lots will range in size from 1.511 acres to 10.685 acres. The 3 tracks will accommodate a detention pond, park, and future development site. Public utilities and drainage tract will be owned and maintained by Monument Junction Metropolitan District Number 1. The plat is consistent with the approved village sketch PD plan, and all applicable code standards are met. Access points. There will be 4 access points on Jackson Creek Parkway. Slopeside Street and Fat Tire Drive access points will potentially be signalized full movement intersections. The Oktoberfest Drive and Laughing Lab Way access points will be right-in, right-out movements. And the intervening 2 access points will also be right-in, right-out movements. All streets within the development will be public streets and will be owned and maintained by the town of Monument. All lots will be accessed off of Jackson Creek Parkway. Monument Junction West, filing number 1, complies with the town of Monument's comprehensive plan because it's within the area designated as a mixed use shown on the future land use map. The future development will be connected by sidewalks and trails. Woodmore Water and Sanitation District will provide water and sewer services. Will promote work, live, and play environment. Preservations of views along I-25 corridor. Will be served by controlled access along Jackson Creek Parkway and minimize curb cuts. Development will integrate 2 or more land uses. And it will accommodate easy access to goods and services by foot or car, just to name a few from the comprehensive plan. At Planning Commission on January 12, 2022, 1 member from the public had questions or concerns regarding the project. He would like to see a large park on the east side of the development, on the east side, not this west side project. Concerned about the overusage of village centers trails and the placement of the traffic lights on Jackson Creek Parkway. Planning Commission voted 5-0 to recommend approval. The Planning Commission recommends approval of Resolution 08-2022, preliminary final plat for Monument Junction West, filing number 1, based on the findings that the proposed preliminary final plat is in conformance with the review and approval criteria for the preliminary final plat as outlined in sections 1802-250C and 1802-260C of the Town of Monuments Municipal Code. Town staff recommends approval of Resolution 08-2022 preliminary plat for Monument Junction West, filing number 1, based on the findings that the proposed preliminary plat is in conformance with the review and approval criteria as outlined in sections 1802-250C and 1802-260C of the Town of Monuments Municipal Code. And the applicant is here tonight to answer any questions and come up and talk about the project as well.
So does the applicant have a presentation?
Not a presentation, just to speak.
Okay. Mr. Temple?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the Board of Trustees. My name is Doug Stemple, and I'm the CEO of Classic Homes. I know this is a little bit unusual in that bringing forth a plat in front of a PUD plan. And so the only thing I wanted to remind you is that this isn't a land use application. What we're trying to do tonight is to define legal parcels. The parcels on the west side are generally 4 commercial pad sales that we have 3 of them currently under contract. We're holding the 4th. We have offers on the 4th, but we're holding off on that because frankly, we're hoping that we can get a really nice restaurant. We have a multifamily site, and then we have a town center mixed use site that the town manager and I are talking about what would be an appropriate use on. Then we have a future single family site on the south end. The reason we want to define these parcels is because when you have less than 35 acres, it's an illegal subdivision by definition. So once we create these legal platted lots, that's what our contract purchasers need to begin to do all of their layouts. They need to know exactly where the dimensions of their lots start and stop. They need to know where are the roads going to be, what are the elevations of those roads, the horizontal and vertical. They need to know where their curb cuts possibly are going to be. And so what we have done is we've advanced that ball so that frankly, we can build the infrastructure in advance of them coming forth with PUD plans. You've probably noticed there's already some grading going on the west side. We got early grading approval through the town. We're already grading over there. We hope to begin utility work, Steve, next month. Next month, we begin to put in wet utilities. And so we're trying to ripen this site so that we have all of it fully developed basically in one fell swoop as then the PUD site plans come forth. So we all understand that no building permit or any other type of activity will be allowed until such time as approval is gained by you from the individual uses. But I just wanted you to understand kind of what our thought process was behind it. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the board for the applicant?
Yes. Since you didn't bring a presentation, did you bring any Laughing Lab or Fat Tire?
No, but if that has any merit for the next time, I promise
I just
I'll fill this room up.
how did those street names come about?
We determined we often theme our projects, and we themed this one after beer. We're kind of hoping to attract maybe craft brewery and restaurant. So, and I'm really glad because the planning commission, he read it as flat tire.
Please.
And he asked me if that was going to be indicative of what we were hoping to achieve over there. And
Who is
I
this
had
person?
to point out that it was fat tires.
On the east side, do bourbon names.
Yes, on my side, the side that I'm closest to, do bourbon, please.
Duly noted.
Mike, bourbon.
Gotcha.
Pardon me, ma'am. I'm hoping, we don't know. We not know at this juncture, but frankly, one of the ads we may do ourselves. Got them. We are in negotiations. A little more exciting.
Any other questions before the applicant? Okay. Questions for town staff? Okay. This is a public hearing item, so I'll open the public hearing portion. Is there anyone here in person that would like to speak for or against this item? Seeing none, Mr. Anderson, do we have anyone online that would like to speak for or against this item? Mr. Kemple, would you like to unmute and make your comments?
Yes, good evening, Board of Trustees. I apologize that I'm not there in person, but I feel that this is important to bring up. I know that that area is going to be developed, and I know you are all well-versed in the already traffic congestion on the Jackson Creek around the high school, the YMCA, the emergency room. So I would urge two things. One, do not put the cart before the horse, meaning that we should focus in on developing or widening Jackson Creek Parkway first before the this area on the west side and east side is developed. Second, I do not feel that this meets all the criteria in the town ordinance part 18 or section 18.02.260 B2D. It says prior to acting on the first plat, Planning Commission Board of Trustees must find that the final plat phase plan will not impede the orderly growth of public services and infrastructure necessary to serve the area. So without fixing Jackson Creek Parkway, that's only going to add to the traffic congestion that's already there. And also Part D of the same code, it states about the signatures and recording, about the checkoff sheet. And it says in there from the ordinance number 25 TAC 2021 in the package, preliminary and final proposals shall clearly and accurately set forth and include information. In the board packet, you'll read in several areas that a traffic impact study is currently being revised. So therefore, it's not complete. So how can you vote on something that's supposed to be in the package that is not complete, that you have adequate information on? With that, I yield back my several minutes to the board. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
No, it was my understanding from last time when Mr. Kimple was here that you guys were going to not only widen that street, but you were also going to the 105 intersection. Is that correct? Okay.
Mr. Anderson, do we have anybody else online for public hearing item? He can be moved back down. Ms. Harrington, would you like to respond, and Mr. Kimple?
Absolutely. For the record, Megan Harrington, Town Planning Director. So a couple things here. As Mr. Stimple stated, this is not the ordinary processing, but it can be done. The code allows for it. They are only creating lots and not building anything. We are under review for development on the east side of Jackson Creek Parkway. And with that, refining the traffic study. As you know, the town is under contract with an engineer for the design of Jackson Creek Parkway. And we've actually met numerous times with the Classic team related to how the timing works, related to required improvements at 105 and that section of Jackson Creek Parkway in relationship to the larger Jackson Creek Parkway project, and how the town is coordinating with Classic is that it appears that there may need to be construction up front on some of those intersections, and we're working with Classic through the development plan to determine the timing of that and what those improvements look like. So there would be no construction, nothing on the ground until those plans are in place a little more formally. And when we would bring a development plan to you for either the east side as a whole or a lot on the west side, we would have to have all of that buttoned up. That's why staff is comfortable saying it's appropriate to plat the lots, knowing that they're going to go in there, do some utility and construction work, some grading, some development prep, and nothing will be constructed. And I don't know, Mr. Stimple, if you'd like to expand upon that related to discussions on Jackson Creek.
Thank you. I understand the concern that was raised, and we share it. And Megan, could you put up the map that just shows the west side with the parcels on it? So the west side and the east side are distinct projects in our mind, although they're obviously integrally related. So on the east side, we already have, and we've gone through 2 rounds, mistaken, we have the entire east side preliminary and final PUD planned in front of the town today. We hope to be on Planning Commission agenda, I'm hoping in March. And having I was kind of hoping to get a more emphatic head nod there. But we have the entire east side there. And part of what we have talked about is Jackson Creek Parkway does need to be widened from Higbee to 105. The town has engaged a study for that. We also have our traffic engineers reviewing that and providing detailed information for the completion of that study, which is expected this summer. What we are proposing to build the entire east side as classic homes. We have 3 or 4 distinct product lines that we are proposing to put there. It will be in front of you in the not too distant future. As part of that, as part of the overall Monument Junction west and east side, one of the things that the traffic engineer, your traffic engineer, traffic study consultant is doing is allocating responsibility for various improvements. Round numbers, Classic's going to be responsible for about 30% of the cost from Higbee to 105. What we have suggested on that is to take, and I don't know if you could put your pointer on the segment, Megan, that we have been talking about. I think we would all agree that the largest impediment to traffic movement in that area right now is actually at the intersection of Jackson Creek and 105. So what we are proposing is, in conjunction with our east side development, we will put 2 designated turn lanes westbound off of Jackson Creek. We will have a designated turn lane eastbound off of Jackson Creek. We will put a deceleration lane as you're heading west off the on-ramp on 105 towards Jackson Creek, and we will have an A-cell, D-cell lane along the entirety of the commercial strip. Essentially what we are proposing is, rather than piecemeal this, why don't we build Jackson Creek Parkway at full build out from the southern edge of our commercial all the way through 105. We think that the cost of that is probably in excess of what our share is, but we're willing to do that and get in line for a future reimbursement because we think that's the right thing to do in terms of making that livable, manageable, and frankly, significant improvement over what exists today. All of that is not being done. None of this is being done in a vacuum. This is a very important project to us. It's one that we are very proud to bring to Monument, and we want to do it right. So as we bring back individual PUD plans, I assure you those details will be worked out. I feel for the Quick Trip people because we are also dealing with Town and Monument, CDOT, and El Paso County at that intersection. So it is a challenging process. But what I've said is we will put up our money in an escrow account to draw upon for those so we can do them concurrently, or I will bond it, whatever we need to do. We're prepared. But I think everyone is gravitating towards the notion that let's take that northernmost section, let's get it done at what should be the ultimate configuration, and then we can do some interim improvements on the balance of it. And overall, from everything we've seen, it's going to function much, much better.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I may, also along with that investment by the developer, We've also received grants from PPACG. And so part of those are helping pay for the design of Old Jackson Road, Jackson Creek Parkway. And also we have another developer that may start developing sooner than later. And so we are putting together a financial package for the entirety of this road. So we are looking to have this hopefully completed within the next 3 to 4 years.
Thank you. Question, Trustee Clark.
Getting late. My question is for Mr. Rivera. Is the legal process being followed on this in an orderly process?
I can concur with Ms. Harrington's analysis, and I agree. It's fine.
It's legally in order.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the board for staff or the applicant? If there are none, I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 8, 2022, a resolution approving a preliminary final plat for Monument Junction West filing number 1.
A second.
We have a motion, a second. Ms. Hogan?
Trustee Clark,
Yes.
Trustee Shaning,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Trustee LeKind,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott,
Yes.
Trustee Stevens,
Yes.
Trustee Romanello.
Yes.
That motion passes 7-0. Item 6G, resolution number 09-2022. Resolution approving change order number 3, Mr. Tharnish.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees. The resolution you have in front of you at this time. 9/22 for change order number 3 to the stadium removal project currently ongoing, water treatment plants 3 and 9. Over the last month and a half, give or take a week, we have been compiling smaller changes that have been occurring either as a result of changes required at a regional building or other tasks that we've made field changes to that are going to better benefit the project and the operations coming out of this project. We decided to wait until we had enough of them to present a larger change order than to submit multiple change orders over the last meeting plus the next few. You can look at the papers that are in there. There is one of the sheets that shows, I believe there's 8 of them. Smaller ones in various amounts from a few $1,000s up to a couple at $26,000. And again, these are all changes that are either in progress or we need to make happen in order to complete on time. As a reminder, we're under a compliance order from CDPHE to have that system operational before the end of March. We have right now on track to start up this system most likely in the next 2 to 3 weeks at most, before the end of the month. We should be flowing water through the new radium removal system. The actual project will be ongoing for about another month after that, just to get that difference between substantial completion and final completion. There's a lot of odds and ends that have to go in after the fact. The goal is to get the water flowing and make the water and remove that well that's been sitting idle for probably a year and a half now. So I would entertain any questions you may have concerning this.
This fits in the in our bond budget.
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay.
It comes out of the $22 million
I
bond.
will point out one thing that I caught during the final review this afternoon. Really surprised I didn't catch it because usually I review these way ahead of time.
is on the background paper. There's a section that I normally include below the pros and the cons where it says fiscal. If for
Right.
some reason there was a section that got carried over from a previous resolution, really all that's just usually a one-line sentence that says this is the dollar amount of the project and that is within the budget that was approved for that entire project. Being a COP bonded project, it's within the total amount available.
Mayor, if I may, I'd like to thank the mayor and trustee Romanello for their assistance with Pikes Peak Regional Building. If it wasn't for their assistance, this change order probably would have been a lot more than it is today. With their assistance, we were able to work with Pikes Peak Regional Building to find solutions that didn't cost us as much money. I'd also like to thank Pikes Peak Regional Building for being as concerned about our project as they are.
Trustee Clark?
Could you backtrack that a little bit for me and who's requiring it? The Public Health and Safety Department is requiring what?
Well, what I was referring to is, can't remember the exact date. We were, due to our radiological samples that we were taking, even though the well was shut down, we had to turn the well on, grab the samples, shut it down. Those numbers are run on a quarterly basis. And the state looks at what they call a running average. Your last 4 quarters, come up with an average number, and if that's what's above the limit, you still have to issue public notice. So we've been sending our citizens public notice every quarter for the last year and a half, up until about the last fall, I think was the last one we sent. Our numbers finally dropped just below the limit, so we weren't having to send that out. But they also said because you've been on exceeding the limit with that well, but keep in mind the well hasn't run half to the system. It's been running 10, 15 minutes to get a sample. But anyway, we exceeded the length of time that those samples are out of compliance. So what the state's required to do is put you on a compliance order, which basically says now you have a date that have that system operational, or else they go to other means, and usually that means a letter from the attorney. So we knew that was coming, and then when it did, we just replied, well, we're doing everything that we're asked to do. The project's been funded, it's under construction. We expect to be in compliance at least a month ahead of what their deadline is. So that's what Colorado Department of Public Health, who controls the water quality.
So it's no surprise that we're out of compliance for something we're not even using.
Well, yeah, that's how the state handles things is
Exactly.
they don't take into account that you're already working to fixing it. They look at the number and say, oh, it's out of compliance. Therefore, we're going to issue you, they call a compliance order.
They have no common sense.
And we have certain deadlines. Once we come back into compliance within 14 days, I have to submit reports back to the state to saying we're in operation. Here's our latest samples. And I don't suspect we're going to have any more issues within a few weeks.
So
Okay.
what was the delay that caused it?
Well,
The
the construction is what delayed it because we ran into issues between supplier issues, contractors or metal building crews that were started and weren't productive, so they got fired. So they brought in another crew, company. And some of those changes you'll see in this change order, the smaller ones had to do with additional columns that were required that originally weren't in the original design because we're marrying 2 buildings together, things like that. So, yeah, the state is just going through the motions of what they need to do, but they're well aware of where we're at and what we're doing to meet that deadline.
Okay. Is there any other questions from the board? If there are no other questions for Mr. Thornish, I'll take a motion.
I move to approve resolution 09-20222, resolution approving change order number 3 for radium removal project with J.R. Planik.
Second.
Ms. Hogan?
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
Trustee Romanello?
Yes.
Trustee Shaning? Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Trustee LeKind.
Yes.
That motion passes 7-0. Item number 6H, resolution number 1022, a resolution approving the purchase order with PMC Power for a used wheel loader. Mr. Tharnish.
Yes, this resolution you have in front of you at the moment is to approve a purchase order for a new loader, wheel loader as they call it. We looked into purchasing a new one. We bid it out. We did have some offers for new ones, but all of them came in $20,000 to $30,000 higher than what we budgeted, just because of price changes from when we put this in the budget last fall to prices after January. And so in order to get as close to that budget as we can, we started looking at loaders that were maybe slightly used, like a year old with low hours, that still had the remainder of warranties on them. And we did find one that came in, and then again, I don't have the exact number. I want to say about $15,000 under what we budgeted. We've had it inspected by our mechanics, and it does have another little over a year and several months of the warranty left on it. It's got low hours. It's in good shape. And the biggest thing about it is we can take ownership of this or delivery of it within the next few weeks, which is going to help us because we all know our worst or heaviest snow events usually occur in March and April. It's where we've had the many years I've been here. That's when we've had our biggest blizzards. And I forget the word they use. Bomb cyclones. Yeah, that kind of stuff. So anyway, the resolution in front of you is to approve the purchase of this, and as soon as this gets approved, then we'll get this over to the PMC Motive, who we're buying it from, and expect them to give us a delivery date. And we do currently have a V plow that we ordered late last year that came in. That'll be attached to one of our loaders, two loaders. That will also help us. If you remember, during the height of last year's blizzard, we had basically two pieces of equipment during the height of the storm that could still be on the road. We had to pull most of our smaller plow trucks off just because of visibility and snow we were receiving. With this loader and the loader we have with a V plow attached and our grader, we'll be in much better shape to handle the next bomb cycle.
It was about 3 weeks after I came.
Are there any questions from the board on this item?
170.
6,000.
Already allotted? Or not?
Yes, I believe I didn't look at it for
It was-
I want to say the budget's about 190,000.
Yeah, it's the
Yes,
line
this
item
was
we
part of
approved.
the supplemental. If you remember,
Yeah.
Chief Hemingway and Tom Tharnish worked out a deal during supplementals last year to where Chief Hemingway felt like it was very important for Tom to have this piece of equipment so that we can get police cars out of the ditch and help the fire department and everything like that. During these snow events, it's very important that we ensure that our public safety can get around town. So I appreciate the fact that these two directors worked hard to ensure that our community is protected.
So this is actually under budget.
Yes, it is. I think you said about $15,000.
I think the budget was set at about 190.
Right.
For this
Yep.
piece of equipment.
Thank you.
Chief, do we need to have a conversation about driving in the ditches?
All us out of town.
Any other comments from the board? Seeing none, I'll look for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 10, 2022, resolution approving a purchase order with PMC Power Motive Corporation for the purchase of a used wheel loader for the Streets Department operations and maintenance.
Second.
We have a motion, and a second. Ms. Hogan?
Trustee Romanello,
Yes.
Trustee Shaning,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Trustee LeKind,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott,
Yes.
Trustee Stevens,
Yes.
Trustee Clark.
Yes.
That motion passes 7-0. This takes us to the public comment portion of our meeting. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anybody in person that would like to make public comment? Uh, Haley, Ms. Chapman.
Mayor, trustees, thank you for taking the time to hear from us this evening. I wanted to take a quick moment and use the public comments period to just reiterate our thanks from Tri-Lakes Cares on all the continued support that the Town of Monument has offered. You've allowed us to accomplish great work, and I had a great opportunity to bring a guest with me to share a little bit about that great work that we've been accomplishing with your help. So I'd like to introduce to you Joy Hammett, who is a recipient of our services and wanted to tell you a little bit more.
Thank you for having me, Board. My name is Joy Hammett. I am a citizen of Monument for almost 10 years now. Moved here for the schools, stayed for the community. We liked that there was like-minded people in our life and in our neighborhood, so we made home here. My oldest son, who's now 23, we came to Monument for that reason back in high school, and he was a freshman in high school, so we've been here a while. It came during pandemic that as a business owner, we were doing really well, and then pandemic hit, and we all of a sudden were not. Our business is such that we cater to other businesses. We do furniture installation. So all of a sudden, our telemarketers, our government agencies, everything was closed. So we quickly ran through savings and found ourselves needing the help of Tri-Lakes Cares. We were overwhelmed and blessed not only with supplemental groceries, but financial help with our rent and our utilities. And it really gave us the foundation that we needed to get ourselves back on our feet and get our business back up and running. And since then, we were so blessed that I'm a board member of Tri-Lakes Cares. It's a very passionate, something very near and dear to my heart. And I really think it's an important part of our community, that it gives these groceries, not only financial assistance, it gives medical assistance. It's amazing, and it blesses families. So for me, it's personal because not only was I able to receive help, but they were able to give me that kind of leg up that we needed. So thank you for your time.
So just want to show you a living, breathing, a good life example of somebody here in the town who has benefited from the support that we have received from the town. Obviously continue to garner your support as well. And we appreciate the partnership, as Mayor mentioned earlier, about the partnerships with different community partners and the nonprofit sector and the public. We really appreciate all that support that you continue to give. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that story. Your life.
Is, anyone else from the public want to speak?
I'm Fred Free, and once again, I come up to you real quick. Two things that I just wanted to touch on. I attended the meeting and the workshop on the 19th, and at that meeting, there were two things that came out that stood out with me. One ended up being quick trip. There were a lot of comments. I think everybody will remember several comments being brought up about it, with the concerns that we had with that. And those were kind of put to the side, look like tonight with the vote. And the second thing that I want to come up with or bring to your attention, I may have misunderstood it, but the invitation was given to the developers in that meeting to come up with language that they thought was appropriate to be put in defining different usages of areas to use their legal department. If that's the case, I'm wondering if the city attorney or anybody like that should be involved in those type meetings, because it seems to me that that's putting the fox in charge of the chicken coop at that time. So I just ask you to look at that. And then lastly, I am disappointed with the vote tonight. Again, it seemed like what happened in August at the meeting, a lot of issues were brought up where you guys weren't fully informed, but yet you thought about voting for it, but then you decided not to because of the big turnout of people that were at that August meeting. And tonight, because there was very little, not much was addressed. And you voted on something that you even brought up and asked questions about what the impact would be, but you had no answers for it. You got no answers for that. So I just would ask that before you vote on any type of resolution, that you're fully informed. You guys do a lot, you donate a lot of time and everything else. We realize that. But at this point, there seems to be a pattern where a lot of times we don't get all the information that we need before we make that final vote. So thank you for your time.
Ms. Hayes.
I just wanted to bring up two events that we have coming up. One, the chief kind of alluded to a little bit earlier, and that is we are hosting an active shooter class. It's not something that we all want to think about, but we also want our businesses to be prepared should that ever happen in our community, or even just visiting someone else's shop and that happens to someone else. So that is this Wednesday from 6 o'clock at the chamber. And then our own Monument PD Detective Marks will be the one that will be giving that class. We did it about 4 years ago, I think. Went over very well, but I think it's time to do it again. So we're looking to do it maybe even annually. We'll see. But I just wanted to invite you all out. Also, our second event I would like to invite you to is our State of the Tri-Lakes region. Mayor Wilson will be speaking, as will our two county commissioners for our region here. And it is a great event. It is on February 18th, 19th. 18th, thank you. And I know Madeline was going to work on maybe who was coming to that. Okay, great. So get with Madeline if you would like to come. It is at Great Wolf Lodge. It is a lunch and it is an extremely informative event, and it is a great place for our elected officials to listen to other elected officials talk, and also a great time to meet and greet a lot of our local businesses. So we'd love to see you. Thanks.
Thank you. Was there anybody else in person that would like to speak? Okay. Mr. Anderson, is there anyone online that would like to speak? Okay. We will move forward with board authorization items. We have none from staff, and the only item we discussed is the committee appointment for the legislative committee, and that would be 2 members from this board. So I will go back to the question of earlier of how do we want to approach this? The parking lot is not an option. Trustee LeKind. Okay, we'll put names in the hat afterwards and draw names.
We got 4 people that we're dealing with here that are volunteering for
I
this?
never confirmed that Mr. Stevens was interested. I
Oh,
thought
okay.
he'd be a good person for it on his. He never.
Well, let's only drop names in for people that want to do it. So who wants to do it?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I can be available to do
So
that.
there's 4 people that we're considering that. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other board authorization items? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to board comments. Any board comments at this time?
I'd like to say I was a little concerned about the comments on pilot. I was not. Are we having a serious issue with crime in that area?
Trustee Stevens, again, that was one of the private and PD partnerships. We've been very proactive, working with their staff to ensure that if they do have anybody parked overnight, they do have a certain portion of the lot that they will let motorists spend the night, but we're making sure they're charging people. We're making sure if we have any concerns that they work with us to remove the people from the lot. Some of the areas around that are county roadways that we've seen trucks backed up on. So I'll be talking to the sheriff's office to see what we can work out with them. I met with another trustee on that issue separately in the town manager. I think this has probably been the cleanest we've seen our parking lots since I've been. I can remember when I got here. Mike and I were talking about this. You would see like 1970 yellow buses that were decommissioned with boarded up windows with people just living in Walmart and Home Depot. You drive in there at night now, you don't see that anymore. So I would say the partnership between us and Pilot's extremely well. I received nothing but great feedback from our officers, and we continue to look at the ordinances and the partnerships with the communities around us to make sure that we're just not displacing. Because you got to remember, we had this conversation today, the manager and I. We can get very proactive on these parking lots, and we're never going to remove it. We don't reform criminals overnight. We don't abolish crime overnight. We displace it. You know, so when we have people that decide to stop and spend the night in one location overnight, our officers on patrol know where they are. They're kind of corralled, if you will. If we displace it one street over into the county, who's not, you know, equipped to handle it like maybe we are now that we have the enhanced police services, we're still dealing with those same quality of lives and the ripple effect. So we're trying to create a balance where we get the businesses not to encourage it if they have the right to have people overnight, but we don't want to start displacing it into a county residential area or a pocket in the county that we can't police it, if you will. So overall, we're very, very pleased with what we've been seeing. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and it's good to hear that it's improved. Any other Board of Trustee comments? I had, yeah, Ms. Harrington, you mentioned something today that I'm just curious about. In the last two recommendations coming from, I believe it was tonight and one our previous meeting, you had mentioned a planning commissioner voted no, and it was one planning commissioner voted no on both items because they didn't feel it applied to or didn't meet the comprehensive plan. Is this something we're seeing consistent with one commissioner?
That's a great question. Now I'm stalling because I don't have an answer.
Okay, well, that's fine.
No,
It sounded familiar. The way it was portrayed sounded like it was the same thing, almost as if, okay, here's my go-to answer.
what we're working on is, I feel like the planning commission thinks that when the review criteria state conformance with the comprehensive plan, in their mind, it's every single word in the comprehensive plan needs to be compliant, or else the application needs to be turned down. And that's not the case. So I think we as a staff are working to provide the review criteria as part of the packet, doing a better job of summarizing comprehensive plan consistency and providing more detail in the staff report. But typically when there's an issue with someone not thinking that the application is a good plan for monument, it ends up being not in conformance with the review criteria, which is the comp plan. It's a pretty big grab. There's lots of reasons that someone could think it doesn't comply. But I don't think it's typical. We'll see. We've got a lot coming before the planning commission and the board in the next few months, so it'll be a better tell.
Okay. On that, Mr. Rivera, the planning commission, it's also considered quasi-judicial in that aspect, correct? So basically they don't need to, but they should. If they're going to vote no on something, they should have a legal reason. Would meeting the comprehensive plan be a legal reason? or conforming with the comprehensive plan? Because the comprehensive plan isn't a legal document.
Let me think. I'm not familiar with this particular vote or and I'm not familiar with particular standards at issue, but I can say that many of the standards that I am familiar with that apply to the development and title process are fairly broad, and so there could be one reason that is touted, but that reason may fit into other categories that are permissible. And I hate to, I would prefer to respond to a particular question with a particular set of facts.
Okay.
But
So-
I can generally say that the categories are broad and they're intentionally broad to allow discretion to both the Board of Trustees and the Planning Commission.
Okay, as a board, if we're in in a quasi judicial hearing and we vote something down, it usually requires a legal reason to vote it down, correct?
For example, let's just say, for example, you can a final plat. Let's use an example, or a final PUD. Let's use that example. The options before the board, I believe, are generally approve with conditions, or deny. If you deny, then it's better for the record to include the reasoning for that, and it helps helps everybody involved understand the basis for it, and that would be a better record.
So, Mayor, just as a specific example, on a final PUD plan, there are 8 criteria for review. And the code states the final PUD must adequately address the following criteria in a manner consistent with public health, safety, and welfare. And those are the findings when staff writes the motion. It's consistent with the findings from the code. And one of those findings is substantial compliance with the comprehensive plan. So in the case that you're referencing, where I said the one planning commissioner said that he felt there were a lot of gas stations in the area, we asked, based on those review criteria, what criteria are you feeling that it doesn't meet? And the criteria you felt it didn't meet was consistency with the comprehensive plan based on one of the policies that talks about a variety and mix of uses. So he felt that approving another gas station was not a variety or a mix of uses, as stated by one of the objectives in the comprehensive plan. And so his reasoning for voting no was that it did not meet the review criteria, specifically the criterion about that it wasn't consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Thank you. I think it's important for our board and the Planning Commission to understand that we have legal criterias that we have to meet to approve, and we cannot vote no just because we don't like it. It doesn't meet the requirements as a quasi judicial board. So I just wanted to discuss that. Trustee LeKind, you wanted to make comment?
Yeah. So in the last few weeks, I have received some information about some posts made by one of our trustees on social media on some confidential closed groups that are not available to the public in relation to an email that was sent to us by a developer that decided to work unilaterally without the board's consent to terminate the potential submission of a development application. And based on what I've read, it was because Trustee Shaning didn't want subsidized housing projects in Monument. As far as I've been told, only one other trustee besides Trustee Shaning was able to meet with this developer. In fact, I was supposed to meet with the developer the same day Trustee Shaning was, and it was rescheduled due to a work conflict. But between the time that Trustee Shaning met with the developer and the time that I was supposed to meet with them, the developer decided not to proceed further because of defaming comments made by Trustee Shaning in multiple social media groups. I believe we all saw the letter that the developer sent to us about her incorrect review of the development that they were attempting to present to the members of the board prior to being submitted to the town. It is my opinion that Trustee Shaning believes she was authorized to speak for the entire board and acted irresponsibly, and for her actions, I believe she should be censored, and she should be instructed multiple times until she understands that this board operates as a board and it's not an individual. We're not individuals here. We don't get to go and tell developers who are trying to do something nice for this town, in their opinion, that they're not allowed to be here.
I'd like to address some of that a little bit. I did read that, and I did read that discussion a little bit on the group. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's escaping me at the moment. That's it. Yeah, Save Monument. The Save Monument group. I did read some of those comments, and I know that I too was scheduled to meet with that developer. I don't know if it was the same day or not, but it was my understanding from that discourse that Trustee Schoening was speaking for herself and not at all talking for the board. I believe that she also clarified that she was taken actually to different developments and led to believe that those developments were from this particular builder, and they turned out to not be. So I think she was being very much misled in that direction. I think that we have to be careful with this censuring of each other under these circumstances where a lot of it is hearsay or opinion and not relative fact. So I believe that when I read through Robert's Rules of Order way back in the day, it stipulates why someone is censured, and it isn't really clearly defined how, what, when, or where, or what the other members of a board can or cannot do. And it's very vague, broad-based, and not enforceable. And I did speak to an attorney about censorship at that particular point in time. I think that, and I was told that it should not have been applicable in that one instance that it was brought to bear. So I would like to really caution us all not to throw censures at people without real concrete evidence and investigation where that individual is knowledgeable about the fact that they're being questioned or their motives are being questioned. I think we should respect each other enough to work out our differences, and if instruction or education is necessary, then let's provide that. Let's not just jump immediately to punishment and fines and censorships, etc. I think that we need to consider the educational level of a new trustee coming on, and even on an older trustee, we don't give up our constitutional right to freedom of speech or to say our own opinions. I'm sure that there were probably mistakes made on all parts in this situation. So I would not agree with the censorship, possibly the education, but not censorship. That is just too much, too fast, without concrete reasoning. And that's just my opinion.
Well,
Chairperson.
I'm disappointed that single-handedly, I did not have the opportunity to meet with the developer and hear out what this project was about. I had a meeting scheduled, and that was, of course, it was canceled based on the communication from the developer. So I wasn't able to hear what potentially was going to come to town. And that to me, an opportunity was taken away from potentially the group that developer was going to serve. If it were to actually pass all of the whole process. And then it took away the opportunity for everybody but 2 board members to hear what that development was going to be about and what population it was going to serve and what it was going to do for the town. So that's really disappointing to me to have that taken away. One thing I would like to mention is that I had the pleasure of meeting with Trustee Shaning one-on-one. I invited her to meet with me when you first came on the board, and that was one of the first things I mentioned was, please speak to the experts in town hall to find out what you can and cannot do on the board. Yes, I do realize there is free speech, but we had our opportunities to meet with the developer taken away from us, and I don't think that was right whatsoever. So I mentioned, talk with the town attorney, talk with Mr. Foreman, Public Works, find out how things are done. How are we legally? What are we legally allowed to do and what we can't do? And the case in point tonight was the Quick Trip. We legally had the responsibility to vote for that. Mayor Wilson touched on this a little bit because the development met all of the criteria. And so we can't say no to a McDonald's, but yes to a Burger King. That's my point. So we needed to vote yes. And so I'd like to encourage Trustee Shaning once again to please speak to people, get the information that you need to learn how the board is supposed to operate.
I was just going to say on this subject, there are a couple things that I do find concerning, and one of them is being that we have heard from the community in the past that workforce housing is something that people are interested into looking into. How do we keep our new teachers? How do we make it so our new teachers, our firefighters, our police officers can live in the community they work in? And when somebody puts their trust in you to ask your opinion, I would hope that it wouldn't be on social media, an hour later as Section 8 or low income housing. We are, and Trustee LeKind hit on it, we are a board that works as a team, and we, people will always be coming to us asking our opinion. And we've had it come up before where something has not worked. And hey, you can bring this to the board, but we don't think it's going to work out. It works out fine. And I do think other board members, including myself, weren't able to discuss this particular item because, in a sense, I feel they were ran off. And I discussed this with you. We have the opportunity. Sometimes this may have been a bad idea, but us working together, we can make a bad idea. Us working with others, we can take a bad idea and make it into a good idea and something that does work for the community through other avenues. And I think that needs to be thought out before spoken on.
So I would like to make a couple comments in regards to this. By the time I was informed of the intent to purchase the land and build Beacon Light Workforce, every stakeholder in the community who would give positive feedback on this development was consulted. Not one stakeholder who would potentially give negative feedback was consulted. So by the time that this was brought to my attention, half the general public in Monument was already aware. Therefore, I saw this development as a direct threat to our residents. I didn't want this to get to the level of Connexus, so I put it on social media to engage the community in the hopes that their voices would be heard before it got to Connexus, before it got to 1,000 people meeting. So that's where my intent was. Did I do anything illegal? Absolutely not. I looked back to the packet, which I still have. those developments from that developer were presented as their own. As a matter of fact, I asked them, could I go tour these developments in Denver and Parker? They said, yes, we'll take you there. So they presented those developments as their own. And then when I put the reviews of those developments on social media for the public to see, that's when they said, oh, wait, those developments aren't ours. Well, they were in the packet and you offered me a tour of those developments. So my loyalty and my oath of office is to work for the citizens of Monument. And again, I saw that in this situation, this was a snowball rolling downhill very quickly. I'd also like to draw your attention, since censure has been brought up, to a text on January 20th of 2022 from Trustee LeKind. Good call out on the low income project. I heard in advance what they wanted, and because of work could not be there with you yesterday. I've rescheduled with it already in my head that the comp plan has no room for this type of project, and we are not subsidizing the developer with tax incentives to build it. 1 hour later on the same day, this is the kind of stuff we need to be working on as a priority. I am fully behind your statement, and I'm going to share it.
Yep, you were baited into that.
Oh, okay, okay.
And I baited you into it because of disparaging comments you made about migrants actually you did, in the next door's Monument Patriots group. I have the entire text thread where somebody stated to you that migrants would be living here, and you alluded to the fact that migrants dilute the voter pool. I have all the screenshots. That's still my voters. I have it. I have the text. I baited you into it because it actually worked because you. Okay. Do you think so? You still have an obligation to work with the board when developers come. The board did not get a chance to speak with the developer one-on-one. They were invited to. And because you said this is dead, you helped kill it with the people on social media, and that migrants dilute the voter pool. We never got the. Okay, I can share my screen.
Trustees, let's not get into he said, she said. Trustee Stevens, did you have a comment?
Well, I think the main thing to keep in mind, we each have the right just to get to Ms. Clark's, Trustee Clark's earlier point, is that we each have the right to speak, to have free speech. What we don't have the right to do, and I haven't read, when I opened up the link, for some reason the page didn't go in there, so I can't confirm or deny, but we don't have the right to speak on behalf of the board. And to come with the weight of the board to say, the board believes this, or the board is going to do this, and that's the area that we have to do. So that's my main concern, is that we understand that distinction between our own individual, I believe this, and this is where I'm coming from, and versus trying to speak on behalf of the board. And again, I wasn't able to open the link, or it didn't open for me, so I cannot affirm but for future reference, I think if we do come up with censorship charges, then we should also have, there should be evidence ready to go as far as that's concerned. And so then I don't know I forget what the process was to have a hearing or what.
And okay. Are you talking about censorship or censuring? That's not a legal item. I will say, yes, that's not a legal matter. I will say that Trustee Shading and I did have a productive meeting with, or I felt it was a productive meeting with Mr. Rivera, and he helped define some of those lines between what is personal opinion and what is board opinion, or what comes off as board opinion. And I think Trustee Shading probably learned quite a bit out of that, where those lines can easily become gray. Is there? Okay, is there any other Board of Trustee comments?
Well, I just wanted to say something. I've been kind of quiet through this and watching it go. I just want to say that passion without discretion is dangerous. Discretion without passion is weak, and it's very good to find somewhere in the middle. And I do agree with a lot of things that everybody said here. First Amendment rights and what you say as an individual is important. And also, when we're talking about issues regard to the town, whether we're speaking individually, well, we would be speaking individually because we're not allowed or supposed to speak as a board. I think it would just be wise to just have wisdom in what we say and what we do, and how it would, because we are a board member, how it does reflect the board in the town. And I would just leave it at that.
Okay, if there are no other, one more comment. I don't like social media. If there are no other board comments,
I would gladly move to adjourn.
all in favor? All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.